Hello, and I am Samantha Tomlinson.
And I'm Kevin Tracy. Welcome to Movie Reel, everyone.
This week, it's something a little different. We watched two movies, Doom and Doom Annihilation. These
I
were
am
both pieces of shit.
I I've been looking forward to this for so long, and in honor of Doom Eternal coming out in about a week or so by the time this comes out, um, it just seemed like a really appropriate time to see how far this game series has come from its early beginnings from the 90s to the pieces of shit that we're going to be talking about today.
Just,
Um,
oh my
yeah,
god. Like,
the first one wasn't that bad.
the
It
first
it
one was bad, more like it just.
having nothing to do with the game.
I mean, I don't know anything about the game, so I can't
Yeah,
judge that, but it just.
yeah,
My issue with that was, like, I felt like it started off kind of strong. I just was noticing as I was watching it, it was just following the format of a horror movie. And so I realized,
yeah,
oh, so it was very clear who was going to die. Like, that was so evident. And then the second one, it was just like it started off as the same movie, and then it didn't get interesting until the last 7 minutes. I was
yeah. No,
actually
I
like
I can attest
somewhat
to that.
I was actually interested and invested. I did not give a fuck about these characters. They were
I
not
I I
interesting
will
at
say
all.
this. I will say this about both movies. Towards like their climax of the movie, there are two scenes, or there's one scene in each movie towards the end that are just fantastic. The first one does it so well, and the second one's like, this is just really cool in comparison with the rest of the movie, but it's still cool nonetheless. But taking a step back from the movies, Doom as a franchise, what about that do you know?
I don't know any of it. It honestly the
Okay.
monster looked like the Predator monster. So I kept thinking like, no, this is not Predator, this is Doom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
What is the game?
So a quick history lesson. Doom is a very influential first-person shooter game, where the whole premise is scientists start up a research base on Mars to set up these teleportation gates to travel from Earth to Mars, and in the process of doing so, they open up a dimensional portal to hell, and you, playing as the Doom Marine or just the Doom guy, have to stop and fight all the demons on loose on one of the moons of Mars. That's it. That's the premise.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah, not that at all.
I just was so okay. Let's just start with the first Doom. Um, okay,
Doom 2005.
I was making notes, and I have. I mean, sometimes they're just like bullet points, or they're just like this happens. This like it's just little snippets, but like I have over like 60. Like I have 65 like things
Oh my
to mention.
god.
Like I couldn't. So the very first, actually, we were watching this. I we were gonna do this last week originally, and I started
Yeah.
watching it, and then I saw that it got a like 30%, and I'm like, okay, we've done two bad movies in a row. We need to do at least need to have one filler.
Yeah, we need to have some good. I like how the good movies are our filler.
Well, I mean, because let's just say this now because I've been asked this. We we don't want to limit ourselves, so we're gonna do good movies. We're gonna do bad movies. It's just whatever, sometimes just what comes along, what we find, what is available. um we're not excluding old or new, good or bad. It's just whatever we would like to watch. I don't want to limit ourselves to one genre or one type of movie, at least not at this point, because I
Yeah.
keep getting asked, oh, are you guys just doing bad movies? And I'm like, no, it's just we just had happened to do two bad movies in a row. Or
Yeah.
why don't you do new movies? I'm like, I
We
mean,
we did. We did Joker and 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
and I'm like, we could do newer movies, and we have done newer movies. We're just trying to do a mix.
Yeah.
We're still figuring out as we go. And if you've been listening since the beginning, we really appreciate it because, I mean, yeah, we're still figuring things out, and we're this is still a work in progress. So we really
We're,
appreciate it.
yeah, we're new. Give us feedback, please. We appreciate it.
So that's like when we say like, you know make comments or make movie suggestions on Facebook or Apple or YouTube, like we mean that because we really do want to hear what you guys have to say. But as for right now, we're just going to be kind of doing what we want to do.
We genuinely want to grow and provide better content for all everyone or anyone who's listening. And when we don't get any feedback, we kind of just keep trudging along, thinking that we're doing fine. So, in all honesty, any criticism is good criticism. If you don't like what we're saying, then let us know and we'll change that.
Or don't listen, depending on what we're
Yeah,
saying. But I mean,
please listen.
listen.
Please listen. Don't listen to her. She's crazy.
I found it's on. You can find it on YouTube where Jennifer Lawrence was doing press for one of the X-Men movies, and her agent or her manager or somebody, she's like, they keep telling me stop telling people that they don't have to go see the movie. Because she keeps going, if you want to see it, like.
Oh God.
So, and I actually remembering now, I keep forgetting to say this. If you haven't seen the movie, if you don't want spoilers, don't listen to this one. I keep saying this at the end because that's when I remember to say it for some reason.
Yeah.
But my spiel just now reminded me to say it. So
full warning, every episode is a spoiler. We're going to go in depth in every movie that we're talking about. So if you haven't seen any movie in any of the episodes that we've seen, don't watch that episode until you've seen that movie. Otherwise, it will be spoiled for you. And that's not on us. Don't put that on us.
I remember on the old show, we did remember our episode on Infinity War, and we did an entire hour of not talking about a movie.
Yeah,
we did not spoil anything.
Yeah, that one we really had to tiptoe around a lot of things, which was really hard because we literally did an episode like it was like what the weekend after we had seen it, so it had been like I want to say like
2 days,
maybe like yeah, like a few days since the movie came out, and it's like oh God, and I remember leaving the theaters like oh God, we can't say anything for our show tomorrow.
So that was so much fun because it was such a challenge. Like we could not talk
really
about anything.
Was. It got to a point where it's like, oh, I want to say something. Like, remember that time when that thing happened and then Thanos punched a dude? It's like, yeah, that was
Spoiler.
Awesome. Yeah, spoiler, Thanos punches someone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we definitely we want to. So yeah, we spoil it because we want to talk about the movie. We want to talk about everything that happens. So if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe don't listen. But I would think I think people are smart and can figure that out.
And considering one of these movies came out in 2005 and the other one is a direct-to-DVD thing that's already on Netflix.
Okay. I was wondering, was that ever in theaters?
Doom Annihilation was a straight-to-DVD thing. It had oh God, I've been looking up the budget for Doom Annihilation for like the past half hour. Cannot find uh any information on like how much money they had to work with making the movie. All I can find is how much domestic sales it had for DVD and Blu-ray, and total domestic sales is $71,000 852.
That's so little.
It made less than $80,000 in video sales, and it's on Netflix right now to stream. So I honestly don't know how much they got for giving it to Netflix for them to stream. I don't know if they get like a commission or something like that. I don't know how that works, but the first one in 2005, I almost said 2015, that's wrong. 2005 had a $60 million budget. Opening weekend made $15 million, just almost like 15 and a half. And its total worldwide gross was 58 million. So this lost money, and this was the better of the two. So I can only imagine how bad Doom Annihilation did.
So just to understand, opening weekend is the most important. I think I remember as our professor told us, it is the most important weekend, which sounds very obvious, but it's because if it doesn't do well opening weekend, it's unlikely to get better. And I mean, you have certain movies that become like cult favorites over time, but those don't as much make as much money. Like if it doesn't do well opening, if it doesn't make if it doesn't double the money, it's that's bad. So the fact that this
Yeah,
lost money. So last week we talked about Annihilation, and it made a profit of like 3 million, which is
yeah.
low. It's still a profit, but the fact
It's
that
still a
this
profit,
lost
but yeah,
$2 million.
yeah. No, this is yeah, no, it's also funny because this film was such a bomb. The first one, the 2005 one with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, it was such a bomb that movie critics said that uh, Jane, while Dwayne The Rock Johnson was having his father inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, Dwayne Johnson joked about starring in this movie.
Wait, really?
Yeah, which is also really funny. This movie has a pretty solid cast. It's got Carl Urban. It's got
Rosamund
Dwayne the
Pike.
Rock Johnson. It's like they're pretty like cool actors, and it's just really sad that they all were just not so much characters of themselves. Like they were a lot more fleshed out than they were in Doom Annihilation. Those ones were just straight up like military space marine stereotypes stolen straight from James Cameron Aliens.
So this
Which
movie, yeah, it I felt like that was the issue with these these characters. I didn't hate them. I just didn't we didn't really get a chance to know them. I felt like especially Carl Urban and Rosamund Pike's characters, who are siblings, they needed to
yeah,
be fleshed out a lot more. Um
yeah, John and Samantha Grimm, and I also thought it was kind of funny that Carl Urban's nickname. Like all the soldiers have like one like simple nickname. Like Dwayne the Rock Johnson is Sarge. They
it's
got
Duke,
Goat, Destroyer,
Duke
Duke, the
Destroyer,
Kid.
Goat Portman, Reaper, who's John Carl Urban,
Yeah,
and Sarge, which is The Rock. Um,
yeah. And then they meet a guy there whose nickname is Pinky, and that has significance to the game.
okay,
I'll have you know,
so that
because they're yeah.
that
I'll get into
actor,
that later when
yeah, or we'll actually, yeah, we'll get there. So the very
yeah.
first thing that this movie starts, and I accidentally I rented the so the first time I rented this, I accidentally rented unrated, and
Oh no.
then I because I didn't get to finish it the first time, so I re-rented it, and this time I just finished with unrated. But I can't imagine like it. The very one of the first things that happens is so all these like something goes wrong in
Scientists
like
are
a
getting
science
picked
lab. Yeah,
off.
they're all running around getting picked off by something. It's a little. It kind of reminded me of Jurassic Park in the beginning when, or not the beginning, but when
The raptor's kind of eating the worker in its cage.
oh, I was thinking of when Ellie is trying to look for in like the vent. She's looking for Samuel Jackson.
Oh, right. When she's trying to turn the power back on.
Yeah, and so yeah, all these scientists are being picked off, and one of them's like running and screaming, and like the doctor just closes the door on her, and she's so desperate, her arm puts her arm through, and it gets cut off, and I was like,
Yep,
ah, like
yep.
this
That's
is
the
the
whole
first,
movie, Sam.
this is like the first like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I also want to point out that the doctor who like survives that ordeal is Dr. Carmack, and Carmack is uh, the name of one of the original creators of the Doom game back in the 90s, John Carmack, who I think was also the founder of like one of the founders of id Software, which is the company that made Doom, as well as Wolfenstein and all those other really famous and popular games.
Yeah, he sends like a distress call, and we then cut
Yeah,
to so I guess it's like a group of Marines. So like we said, Destroyer, Duke, Goat, Portman.
yeah, yeah, and they're all just kind of dicking around because like, oh, we're about to go on leave. What are you gonna do? Portman's like, oh, I'm gonna get laid. It's like, haha,
Oh,
you're
okay,
so
no. Portman doesn't just say he's gonna get laid. First of all, Portman is disgusting. Every
yeah,
single time he talks, I think, are you gonna rape this person you're talking to? The way he talks, the creepiness, and like he just radiates pervert. It's just every time he even his smile, he has one of those
yeah,
creepy triangle smiles. Like I was
yeah.
fine. I couldn't wait for him to die because he just was so unsettling to me.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely has like the kill me face going on for him. Like you know he's going to be a victim, but he's like is he going to be like the guy who kind of like weasels his way to like the very end, and he like tries to like kill the protagonist in like a last ditch effort to save himself? I thought they were kind of going that route with Portman
I thought they were
because
going the route of in a horror movie, like how how always the sluts are the ones that die, and the fact that he's gross. Like that's how I looked at it. Like when we
yeah,
first meet him,
I thought he was going to be kind of like the guy who's going to try to like talk his way out of or like weasel out of like any given situation that would like put his life on the line and like try to like kill the good guy to try to like make sure that he survived and or something like that, but we never got any of that. He literally dies like on the toilet like trying to call for reinforcements.
Jurassic Park style,
Yeah,
he
clever girl.
says, they're like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I'm renting a motel and getting a bunch of she boys." And I think it was Duke who's like, "That's you're gross." And I'm like,
Yeah.
when he said that, I'm like, "She boys is that what I think it is?" Like, why would first of all, if that's what you do on your off time,
Hey, don't kink shame.
yeah, I'm like, if that's what you do in your off time, okay. I'm just surprised that that's something you're comfortable telling your coworkers. Like, everything about him was just right from the get go. He's just gross and pervy and like I don't know. Like I'm sure he
Yeah.
has like a wife beater shirt that has like a stain on it. Like nothing about him was. I was
Yeah.
not good with anything about him.
I think he is wearing a wife beater underneath his like tacky like bought at a gas station like Hawaiian shirt. Like this thing was like clearly bought at a gas station. Like this thing looks like shit. Like this isn't a Tommy Bahama like Hawaiian shirt. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
like oh he bought this at a truck stop like found in a glory hole kind of Hawaiian shirt. Like that's what this character radiates.
Yeah. Yes. I
It's
didn't
like
think
that's an apt description. Am I right?
I didn't think about the glory hole thing, but I mean, yeah. Okay. So they're all supposed to go on leave, and then Sarge comes in, who's the Rock, and he's just so. I mean, he's one of those things. He looks exactly the same, but he looks. He. I know he's younger, but he kind of
He's
looks
less buff.
not even but his just face because it's got less wrinkles. He looks kind of like a CGI version of the Rock. Like if they were trying, he
Yeah.
did a movie where he was supposed to look younger. That's how he looked to me. He
So
looked.
so the Mummy Returns as a Scorpion King.
um, but even there, maybe it's because in that he's dressed in like he doesn't look like. I mean, he looks like the Rock, but he's dressed in like ancient battle armor and has long hair. I don't notice it as
You mean
much.
a loincloth?
A loin, yes.
He's not wearing armor. He's wearing like a bracelet and a loincloth. That's it.
I thought he was wearing something on top. Maybe it's just his hair. I don't know.
I don't even remember. It's distracting.
Anyway, anyway.
But yeah, no. It's also kind of funny that like Dwayne the Rock Johnson's in this, and like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, like in movies like nowadays, like he's like really full of like charisma, and he's like always smiling. This one, he has like zero personality. He's like he's literally like the angry like military sergeant in like Aliens or like any movie that has a space marine in it, and he has zero personality outside of that like brief character description.
I actually felt like, yeah, he didn't have none of them really had a ton of personality. I felt like honestly, I feel like Duke and Portman had the most personality.
Like I don't even remember half of them, like Goat or Mac or any of that. Like
Mac was just to be. They had an Asian guy, and the whole joke was, oh, he has a long, complicated name, so they just call him Mac. Like,
yeah,
okay, he was just there. He was specifically there for that joke. Like, there was really
yeah,
no
no,
reason.
like his character is so unmemorable. I didn't even remember that joke, and he died off screen. It's like, oh wait, it's like wait, weren't there more of him? And then we see his body. He's like, oh right, there was an Asian guy.
So yeah, The Rock comes in saying that leave's canceled. They have been reassigned, and Carl Urban, who's clearly like kind of moody and kind of definitely a little bit, he's kind of more isolated from everybody else. And Sarge is like, you don't need to come, and he's like, no, I want to come. He's like, no, it's okay. We got this.
It's like where yeah, it's like where are we going?
Old Divide, which is, I guess, on that's the moon off of Mars.
Yeah, they're going to no, in this one I think they're going straight up to Mars, even though in the games and stuff they primarily go to Phobos, which is one of the moons of Mars. But since Doom came out in 2005, this movie, they wanted to follow more or less the same lines as Doom 3, which was the latest installment of the series, which came out roughly around the same time as this movie. So they were more or less trying to follow that game rather than the originals. And although Doom 3 isn't really considered like a fan favorite so much compared to the rest of the series, it still follows the plot line of yeah, they open up a portal to hell. Like hell's still like a very big part of that series, and that is not evident at all in this movie.
I just thought like, yeah, I was so getting it was getting so mixed up. Um, but they basically, yeah, they're being reassigned, and I will Sarge and
Reaper.
Reaper, I actually kind of like their relationship for most of the movie. They kind of have this like Sarge is in charge, but he definitely respected out of everybody. He respected Reaper the most, and the fact that he told him in the beginning, "No, you don't need to come on this. Like it's okay." And it was because so actually we're getting my head of myself, but they're getting ready to go. They're loading up and their guns, and it was just so I know the only reason this happened was because so their guns every time they grab them, it says like Doom's Destroyer. Recognizes them.
Yeah, like recognizes their DNA or like their fingerprints so that no one can like steal or use their guns, which is like that's cool technology, and this is an interesting and creative way to like reveal like who's who, other than like, hi, I'm disgruntled Space Marine 1, I'm disgruntled Space Marine 2, and I'm pervy Space Marine, says Portman.
The thing was I couldn't decide if it was creative or if it was that because there's uh like 6 or 7 of them. So the fact that it just with every single one, it just came off very like they're making a list, and it was just like I get it. I don't know. It maybe because it was too many of them. If it was like 3, then I don't know. But anyway, they go up and oh, so I don't remember when I wrote this down, but there's this one younger Marine with I think it's called him the Kid, and I don't know if it's because he's younger or if they don't know his name. I think that's just his nickname. And Portman says, shocker, Portman makes a dirty joke. He's like, God asked
You don't say.
it's funny. I always wanted a pussy, and then they sent you. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out, Kid, they're sending like this group of like highly trained like Marines to a facility on Mars who's currently under like a huge quarantine, and yet one of the members of this squad is this very seemingly very unexperienced fresh recruit type character just called the Kid, and he's treating like this entire mission like it's his first day on the job, yet they were just about to go on leave. So what the and later on in the movie they say that this was his first mission, so what the hell was he doing in between him going on leave to like how does he go on leave when it's his first day? That doesn't make any sense. And why was he sent out with them when he's clearly not experienced as a soldier in any way imaginable? Because he straight up just refuses multiple orders given to him from Sarge. I mean, granted they are for a good moral high ground, but still that's a direct order from your CO and you kind of need to follow them.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
why are they going on leave if it's his first? Yeah, his first day is break.
Yeah.
That's like every
It's
fifth
like, congratulations,
grader's
you're
dream come
hired.
true.
Yeah, it's like, congratulations, you're hired. Now go on your 2-week vacation. It's like, what? All right. I get paid,
So
right? Sure.
they literally, yeah, they go up to Mars. I literally wrote Mars question mark because I wasn't very clear. Um, and they take this like transportation thing to Old Divide, and they meet Marcus Pinskarowski, who's half his body, his set of legs. It's like instead of a wheelchair, but they're like rather than him sitting in it, it's like wheels. Like he's half robot machine.
Yeah, it's like one of those. It's like a hover round, kind of like those wheelie things.
And
But like a segue kind of version of that.
yeah, and he basically says like that you can experience major turbulence, and they're like, what does that mean? And Carl Urban's like, he went to one galaxy, his ass went to another. And then a pair of legs just fall, and I'm like, are those supposed
Yeah,
to be his legs? Whose legs are those? And they look so, they do, the CGI did not hold up.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, who, I literally was like, whose the fuck legs are these?
That's an extra scene in the unrated version, I believe.
Okay, because I was like, what
Um,
the hell is this? What is this? Okay, and then
yeah, but yeah,
he,
yeah. In case you can figure out that subtle joke, they just straight up had to show you, which was super unnecessary. And also, I thought Pinky's character was really cool. I thought he was like a really like decent character, and later on in the movie, I'll kind of explain the significance of his name, as well as his transformation later on as a character. Uh, and for those of you who've seen the movie and like know the game and hear the name Pinky, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. But for those of you who haven't really played the games, Sam, this is going to be a heck of a shock.
okay, he, but like, so yeah, he, and then he introduced himself as Marcus Pinskarowski. He's like, but you can call me Pinky. And I think what bothered me more was it wasn't that he had a nickname, it was that it was just, it seemed like that was a nickname. It would have made more sense to me if he just said, "Hi, my name is Pinky." But the fact that he said his, and then if they made some comment like, what kind of name is that?" And then he said his whole name, it just came off weird to
Yeah,
me that they said his name and then his nickname, like, because it was just
it
trying to
just
make a
came out.
reference. It was just trying to make a
Yeah.
reference. With
Oh yeah, no, that's entirely what he did. Was just they came up with some like super long, confusing name just so they could give him the nickname of Pinky, which is just not even that good of a reference, to be honest.
it was a really crappy. It could have just been like, "Hi, I'm Pinky." Like, what kind of name's that? Well, I'm
Like,
called. My real name is Marcus Pinskarowski. Which would you rather? You know, they could have done a smoother way of
like
making
they
that.
could, yeah, they could have had like any number of references. Like they could have like made this guy Carmack, and he would have like helped them through. Like that would have been cool. It's like, oh wow, the creator of the game is like helping us through. That would have been cool. Or like calling him Blaskovich. Like that would have been a really cool like Easter egg and like reference to like something else. And it was just no, they called him Pinky.
I gotta
And
say though, so the actor that's Pinky is Dexter Fletcher, who is a pretty successful director now. I don't know if I don't
yeah,
sure he directed Rocket Man, which if anyone's been listening, I thought was really really well directed and was an insane Oscar snub. But I was like, oh, I literally I don't know. I was looking up the cast and I was like, I know that name, and I'm like, oh my god. So I thought that was random, but I was like, what a weird cast this is. And then I uh there's a debate on whether they need to evacuate everybody. And I gotta say,
yeah,
as the movie going on, they could have just evacuated them. I didn't really see. It seems so. The fact that wait with the type of transportation, it's just kind of like a beam and just sucks them there. And I know it's not supposed to
yeah.
be not pleasant, but like it. I don't know. I just
Well, I
kind
mean,
of
they would have had to take that transportation to get to Mars in the first place, so they know what it would be like.
yeah, exactly. And I just kind of thought, it's because they didn't know how big of a threat this was. But I literally just
Yeah.
thought, you could have just evacuated just to be safe. It just seemed. I was literally, I'm like, why not just evacuate them earlier?
Well, the thing was is that the area was on quarantine. John Carmack, like the not John, Dr. Carmack put like the whole facility on quarantine, and the only people that are allowed in are like the Marines, and they're the ones who have final say on if people can get let out, if there's not like some kind of like, because they don't know if it's like a biological contamination, if there's like some kind of terrorist threat, if there was like some hostile force who infiltrated, like they really don't know what's going on. So it makes sense that they played it safe and not let anyone go anywhere, like restrict people's travel and just keep everything isolated on Mars until like the final say from the Marines like tell them to go. It's
Yeah,
like that made sense.
I just was thinking if they had, things would have turned out differently. But
I don't think it would have because it didn't, yeah.
and maybe I don't know, but Anyway, so then there's this, of course, a group of women, and Portman's got to go over and make some strip search joke, which was just like, just stop. I literally wrote, I had to like, I typed this all like on my notes on my phone, and I put a little throw up emoji next to it. Like, just everything Portman does is gross. Like, he finds a way to make every single thing come off pervy and gross. And some
Yeah.
of most, and like a good percentage of his dialogue doesn't need to be this pervy.
Oh no, he is like overly pervy. Like Herbert the pervert from Family Guy is like, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
It's like, we get it. Rein it in, bud.
So then, Rosamund Pike's character. We're introduced to Rosamund Pike's character, Dr. Samantha Grimm, and there's so prior to us meeting her, we keep hearing like Sarge asking Carl Urban, like, "Oh, is she? Do you think she's still up there?" Because he doesn't want to. He doesn't. He's being kind of reluctant to go up, and even though he doesn't have to, and then we think it's kind of the impression that it's going to be like a girlfriend or an ex
Or like
girlfriend.
yeah, or like yeah, something like that. Like some like intimate relationship with someone.
Duke's like, "Did you let that sweet piece of ass go?" And he's like, "She's my sister." And I'm like, okay. So
That was really funny.
I thought it was funny, but I will say, and I do like that it was his sister as opposed to her being like his girlfriend or a wife or something, because it did kind of, oh, okay. I just thought like they were kind of, and looking back, there wasn't really any indication. There was no, in the dialogue, nothing showed that it was a girlfriend. It was just the indication, like, we know
Yeah.
he's got a female somebody that he knows up there, so it was kind of implying that it was his girlfriend. And then
Yeah.
did you let that sweet piece of ass go? No, it's my sister. And it was just like, oh, okay, okay. So,
And and then like Duke's like, so did you let that Serbia's ass go?
okay, now I'm sorry. I made, so about
Yeah.
half this part of this movie I watched last week, and then I was busy and I didn't get to finish, so I had to re-rent it.
It's all good. Okay, so yeah,
Half of
they
my
take
notes, I'm like, I wrote down, what are my notes? So I think it was just after we meet Dr. Graham. I literally wrote lockdown, but people can get out, and I think it was referring to. I'm like, I don't even remember why I wrote that, but I think it was just
yeah,
because people were still going in and out of places, and I'm like, wait, I thought we were in lockdown.
yeah. The facility itself was in lockdown, but no one could necessarily leave that facility except for like like the main like public access hub where everyone was like where you first see like all like the scientists and like civilian like workers there. But the lower levels like the sewers and like the research lab, those were like all locked down, and that's where we see Samantha Graham's line like, "Hey, I need you guys to like sweep and clear all this stuff so we can like collect like all the research data from Dr. Carmack." Like that's like, and that's the soldier's main mission, is to assess the threat and save the data.
This is when, so Pinky's basically kind of their eyes and ears. He's like watching them through cameras as they go in. Um, and they're basically, yeah, they're trying to find out what's going on and find out the people that were last seen in the facility. This is when we meet Mac, and he's like, "Your name's Mac," and then he's got, a complicated Asian name, and so the whole
Yeah,
joke is like, "Oh, he's Asian and he has a long name, so they're
yeah,
just gonna call him
yeah,
Mac."
yeah. Yeah, by the way, the amount of coverage that we've put, like the amount of time we've talked about him in the show is more time than he is like covered in the movie. He is such a footnote character that he's not even worth mentioning, and the fact that we mentioned him so much, I find it hilarious.
Um, so they venture in.
Yeah, they're looking around. They managed to find like the main like research facility or like the research lab. Samantha is like decoding everything, and eventually one of the soldiers, I believe Carl Urban, like sees something. It's like, oh, what was that? And then they have to go into the sewers, and we're introduced to the darkest scene in cinema I can think of in recent memory. And not dark as in like, oh, it's really graphic. Dark as in I can't see a goddamn thing.
Yeah, yeah, like,
It is beyond pitch black that you can only see a silhouette in darkness, which doesn't add the fact that it's a silhouette. You still can't see anything. That doesn't do anything.
So yeah, they're all just going. We're cutting back and forth between all these different people. So Portman and Goat have teamed up, and Goat is very religious. And there's like a scene where he said something, and then he cuts like
Oh
a
yeah,
cross into his arm.
yeah. He like trips over a barrel and then he says, "God damn it!" And it's like, and then yeah, then he cuts like he cuts like a cross into his arm, and we see his arm and it's just covered in crosses. Like, dude.
Wow. Yeah. Um. And I wonder what happened. Yeah, and then I would wonder what happened if he was a pastor who turned into a dinosaur.
I don't know, man.
We'll never find out. Um. But
We'll never know.
so Samantha is trying to tell John how like so I guess we're getting through like their parents used to also kind of work up there and they died. I wasn't by what was it like I wasn't very clear on how they died. They just kind of
Yeah,
some monster or some kind of attack and
for the most part, they make it seem like it was like some like natural disaster. Like there was like a basically like an earthquake, and when they were in like the mines, just like researching like all like the like artifacts and stuff that they found on Mars, they died in the collapse, and for some reason, and that basically like fragmented like the relationship between Reaper and Sam to the point where like they don't really talk to each other that much or at all anymore. And Samantha decided to like carry on with like their parents' research, and Reaper decided to do his own thing and join the military.
so she's part of an archaeological like dig on Mars, I guess, and they found these remains that show the remains had she had 24 chromosomes, but people only have 23 chromosomes. And he's like, "Well, what's the other one?" And she's like, "It made her it's like a superhuman. She was super strong and could heal almost instantly." And I'm like, "You can tell. I mean, I don't know science, but you can tell that from just like I don't know. I'm like, I get how can you tell that that's what it's for?"
Yeah, I like. Yeah, I know, and especially her, because they literally say later on, it's like, we don't do any human tests. Like, then how would you know that unless you tested it on someone?
Yeah, I'm like, it just seemed like quite a leap to be like,
Yeah,
oh, she must have been superhuman. Like, oh, okay. So, and then, like, yeah. So, we eventually there's a see there's like an attack. There's like shots being fired. Somebody's running around, and it's the doctor that went missing.
yeah. You see him like huddling in the corner, holding the hand of the severed hand of the woman who like got it lopped off by the door, and they're trying to like reason with him. It's like, Doctor Carmack, like you need to come with us. Like, do you realize where you are? And he's not saying anything, and he's just like huddling, like looks like he's like eating the arm.
And then he rips off his ear, and it's
Yeah,
like, okay, sure. And they get him back to the lab, and they're trying to like what whatever. And um they keep going, and then they're like just trying to find the rest of that arm.
yeah, or the body that goes to that arm.
The rest of the arm. Well, yeah. Yeah. And then of course Portman and the kid come across just a naked woman, of course, much to Portman's delight. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, what the fuck? Why would there just be a what? I'm just want to know, like, in their Portman probably wasn't even wondering, but I'm honestly thinking, what scenario would they? Why would they think there's just a naked woman just there? Like, it didn't make sense. And then she turns out, yeah, she's infected by whatever's going on and tries to attack them, and they kill her. And it's like yeah,
yeah.
it's just ridiculous.
I honestly don't remember that scene. I guess I haven't seen the unrated version. I have no memory of that scene whatsoever. So that's news to me.
That's like uh she's like the body that goes with the arm, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So do you ever wait in the unrated? We watched two different versions.
Apparently,
Did you? But
I've been seeing this movie. I've seen this movie for years, and I had no idea that scene even existed.
did you? I once
Wow.
I was with people and we were watching Step Brothers, and this is I had only seen Step Brothers on TV, so things get cut out. So the scene where Will Ferrell is literally rubbing his balls on the drum set, I'm like, what? I don't remember this at all. And everyone's laughing, like, because I have no idea that it was coming. Um, like, so how? Well, in your version, how do they find? Because this, do you know what happens to the body? Like,
They, pretty much like for the movie, they pretty much just say is like, oh man, we like found like all the bodies, and it's like they find them like off screen. Like we never like see like any major confirmation. We just see like a few like scattered bodies like here and there, and them saying like, oh, we just found so and so down the hall, and oh, now we're following this thing down into the sewers. Like it goes by so fast, and it gets to a point in the movie where the movie is going at a speed that I can't really figure out what they're doing because I already forgot what they just did.
yeah, it's yeah, like okay, so and yeah, they find it. So at least in my version, in the unrated version, um, they did you find okay? Did you come across the room? Oh, so I think it was in this room with the naked woman on the wall. They see the word "suffer" in blood, written in blood.
Yep, no, did not see that.
Wow, this is gonna be an interesting review.
Yeah, we watched two different movies. No. No, I mostly have like seen this. I've seen this like on Netflix, like back when it was still on there. Um, yeah, I guess they just had like the normal theatrical version, I guess, because this is a scene that I have zero memory of.
Wouldn't it have been funny if you watched Doom and or like one of us watched Doom and one of us watched Zoom?
Oh,
We
oh my
if we
god.
actually did watch two different movies. Um, um, so so basically Duke has been kind of assigned to Samantha,
Protecting Sam.
and they and there's like it's a nano wall, so it's kind of like a weird just it's not just like it's like a kind of invisible wall that you walk through and then you close it and then the room's like sealed. And he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, and he's like, I don't do nano walls, and I'm just like, why? You just take a step. I mean, you take a step. It can't be as bad as like the transportation, like which you know what I mean. Like that lasts
yeah,
longer. This is
yeah,
just you take a step forward.
yeah. But this is like, it's like really, this seems like a less extreme than what you've already gone through. Like, and like as soon as he said this, like, oh, someone's gonna get killed by this thing, and sure enough, they trap a demon in it, or not really a demon. I mean, that's one thing. That's one thing about this movie that pisses me off is that they completely ignore the entire hell like aspect of Doom, and this whole thing is just a Martian virus that the chromosome that was mentioned earlier, and like the fossilized remains of people that they found on Mars. Uh, good people who get that chromosome basically are superhuman. They're like insane stamina, self like healing, like they're Captain America basically. But for bad people, it turns them into these hideous, disgusting monsters, and that's what they're finding all over the facility is all the bad people that got it. It's like, what? No,
But that's
I want a demon, damn
everybody.
it!
That seems
It's like,
stupid. So every single one of them, it turns into a monster. It's like I would, if anything, I would if made more sense if it's like it can make you superhuman, and this is all just going horribly wrong. Or I thought it was like one or two of them are turned into monsters and they're just infecting everybody. But is it even if you infect if like so like
there's still like a chance of like you potentially becoming superhuman because later on in the movie, like Sarge is like, oh man, we can't let this infection spread. all right, we need to kill everyone.
That was
And
so
the kid,
stupid. I
yeah,
literally wrote
yeah,
like Sarge just becomes an asshole for no reason.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah. But
anyway,
but yeah,
so
like yeah, he's ordered like everyone's like we need to kill everyone. We can't let this infection spread. And it's like, dude, there's no guarantee that anyone will be infected. It's like I said, no one gets out of here alive. And the kid comes across a room of like a bunch of people, like basically men, women, and children who are just like kind of like made like a ramshackle like barrier behind a door, and he just immediately walks in and is like, I'll come back and help you all. And we never see or hear about those people again until Sarge's like, all right, I killed them all. It's like, okay, Jesus.
so they're dealing. So Sam and another doctor are dealing with what's his name, Doctor
Dr. Carmack.
Carmack. Okay, and yeah, he says to shut it down. It's inside, and then like the monster, whatever's going on. So they're all it's still cutting back and forth between all the Marines, and before they were in a room filled with like animals and dogs, like dogs and stuff in cages, and then they go back and all the animals are gone and there's like blood everywhere, and they find one of the other doctors is just like eating them,
Eating a rat. Yeah.
eating a rat, and I literally wrote messed up guy eats mice, um and and they kill him, or he starts to attack them, and so they kill him, and then Sarge and Duke. Way before this, Sarge and Duke are they're just kind of Duke's definitely interested in Sam, and so he asks. He says,
Oh yeah.
"What's?" He's talk. I think he was talking about something else. I don't know. He was asking like, "What's the deal?" And Sarge is like, they went their separate parents died. They went their separate ways, and then I don't I don't remember. Duke said something, and it was just like,
Yeah, he basically just says like it's complicated. It's like, oh, I'm complicated. He's basically is like, I don't care what you say, I'm going to try to get with her. And at this point, I think this is around the time where they go to the weapons lab, and we meet the fan favorite weapon, the BFG, or what they call the Bioforce gun, but everyone knows it as the big fucking gun. I love that
oh,
they
I
have.
was like
I
BFG, like the Roald Dahl book, like
No, I love the fact that they had this, and a fun fact about this is that they made two prop guns of the BFG for the movie, and The Rock kept both of them.
of course.
He just has two of those giant, comically oversized guns somewhere in his house.
Um, so yeah, they're kind of starting to see that whatever's going on, these people are like getting infected by it. And the doctor, okay, so Sarge and Duke, or it was Duke or Destroyer. I thought it was
Destroyer's the one with the minigun.
maybe it was Duke then, or I don't know. I don't know. None of the characters had, they all were just It was like they had names, and that was just about it.
Yeah, Duke or Destroyer ends up finding like this pit basically where the walls are completely electrified. He gets pushed in it by some monster and ends up fighting this thing in like this like cage match, and eventually gets killed. In like the most unceremonious way possible. He literally climbs up this chain, the monster pulls it, and he falls and he breaks his neck. It's like, really? That's how you die?
I was like, no, Destroyer.
It's like, no, you had so much personality, probably.
Probably, but I think this is when before all this it was Duke. I want to say it was Destroyer, but it might have been one of the other guys. But they there's a vent and they're hearing a sound, and so they like decide to like see what's in there,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. That's Destroyer.
yeah, and they like move the like like the opening, and I'm like always I was thinking, why are these always so easy to open? Like people always use these to like
Yeah,
sneak in and out.
yeah. He literally opens up the vent in the air duct and is like, that was really easy. There was like no like bolts or anything that they had to unscrew. It just lifted up like it was just like it. it was like a crappy Lego piece that just couldn't fit into place. And inside the vent is a monkey that just scares the hell out of them, and they just shoot the hell out of the air vent like it's something out of like that one scene in Predator where they're just shooting into the jungle for like 5 minutes because they one of the guys saw something and none of the other guys question it, so they all start shooting and just completely like cut down like 50 trees in front of them. It's like, all right, I think we got him. Miss every shot.
And it was just like, okay, and it never comes back. I'm like,
Yeah,
shouldn't people be like, oh, there's a monkey, and Sarge is just like, he's like, what? He's like, it was a monkey, and it's like, and he never is like, what? Like that's weird. Like they just accept it and they just go on. So then we're back with Carmack, and he's starting to kind of look like Morbius, like the way his skin is changing and starting to look kind of gross. And then
yeah,
they eventually all the everybody makes it down into the sewer. They're pretty sure
yeah.
whatever it is down there.
They yeah, they follow something in there, and one of the soldiers, I believe Mac, gets attacked by this creature, and its tongue detaches from its mouth and latches onto his neck, and that's how we see like, oh, so it's infection through bites or blood contact or something. It's very unclear how this thing spreads other than through physical contact with an already infected person.
Yeah, that was when the tongue stayed behind. I was like, okay, like that was pretty gross. And while this is all going on, so Duke is still kind of like with Samantha, and she is like, I don't remember what she was cutting open, or she before. Well, she before was taking Carmack's blood, but she's like, running tests and whatnot, and she and Duke are talking, and she says to Duke that she's like, you know what? Secretly, I think you have a big heart, and he says that's not the only big secret thing I have.
Ha!
She's just like,
He's talking about his penis.
what? He is, and
I think. I don't know.
I think yeah, no, he's talking about his pinky toe. Um, and
Ew.
then
That's disgusting, Sam. This is a family show.
um, so then, uh, she's more just like amused by it. She's not like rolling. She's kind of rolling her eyes, but she's just kind of like, "Wow, been a while, huh?" And he says that, yeah, having sex with me is basically your civic duty, and it's like, what? And then and then this because she needs a bone power saw, and he was
It's
like,
like,
"Where have you
like
been
I,
all
he's
my
like,
life?"
it's like he's like, it's like, oh man, like where is this boner joke gonna go? It's like, it's coming, it's there. She set him up for it.
I know she was like, she put it on, yeah, she put it on the tee, and yeah, anyway, so they, she tells him where to go. He doesn't come back for a while, so she goes to find him. He then comes out, and oh, prior to all this, Carmack has disappeared. He's just not in.
Yeah, he left after he like Duke went to go get the power saw, and he later kind of reemerges, but we'll get to that because Sam ends up getting chased and stalked by another infected demon type creature, and they trap it in the nano wall. Just they manage to turn the nano wall off like right as it gets in there, so it's halfway stuck in there. And we notice later on that it's missing an ear, the same ear that's missing that Dr. Carmack ripped off. This thing is Carmack.
And so around this time, okay, so actually just before or just after that, Reaper, he has like an audio flashback. He's like looking outside, basically where they're trying to seal off all of the possible entrances and exits, and he's basically where his parents died. And I thought we were going to get an actual flashback, and instead you just hear like parents being like, "No, John, not over there." Like just be
Yeah.
careful. And then you hear like screams, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is where they die. But I don't know. I kind of now let me make this clear. I hate flashbacks, and the fact that I said it needed one is not good. Um,
Damn.
I mean, no, it's not. I just feel like TV. It's one thing if it's quick, but when they go on forever and like TV shows, I've seen certain shows have ruined flashbacks for me when they're too much and too often and not interesting. So now I'm like really picky with flashbacks. And I don't know, I think this it would have been kind of stupid and maybe not that important, but we would have been a little clearer on how the parents died. And and yeah, and see this part where Sarge is like, is this where it happened? Like Sarge, like that's kind of like up until towards the end, I actually like Sarge because he seemed to have a lot of respect for Reaper, and
Yeah.
that's nice.
And they yeah, but they never explain why they have like this like camaraderie between the two of them and not like the same kind of or a similar relationship between like everyone else. Like this like there's like some kind of like bond between like Sarge and Reaper, and it's never explained. Like, have they been like serving together for like many years? Like, did they save each other's lives at one point? Like, is it like like it's never explained why that they're such good bros.
Yeah. Um. So at this point, so Mac was guarding Pinky, and then Mac dies.
Yeah, yeah. Mac dies in the sewers because like, oh, we need all hands on deck down here. It's like we need to search the sewers. Like, I'm on my way, and he dies immediately. So it gets to a point where it's like, all right, we're evacuating the facility, so they send everyone back to the facility. I believe it's in Utah. It's somewhere on Earth in like this like underground bunker. And the only way out is through like this really like long elevator shaft. There's only one elevator. That seems like a fire hazard. Not gonna lie. um, but yeah, they evacuate everyone. They evacuate everyone from uh, the Mars base, and after they do that, they realize like, oh man, we could have gotten the infection out there. So they run back there trying to find the one monster that's left, and they give Pinky a gun. It's like, Pinky, if something comes through here, like you need to do take care of it. It's like, I'm not a soldier, man. I can't do this. So of course Pinky fails, and it ends up loose on Earth and kills mostly everyone aside from one room full of like women and children.
Yeah.
Um,
Be, before like I think eventually so Reaper so Goat went down the sewers. Yeah, Goat gets attacked. They then bring him to the lab. They try to save him, but no, he's gone. Um, and then he later he like
like gets resurrected.
he wakes up, and that's what I was confused on. So he wakes up. Sam and Duke obviously freak out. He then just is he like does like a cross on him, and then just bangs his head against the wall, and he just kills himself. And I was
Yeah,
confused because I wasn't clear on whether he was trying to kill himself or he was trying to get to them.
yeah. Later on, yeah, later on in the movie, they do explain that as like, oh, like Goat realized that he was turning into a monster, so that's why he killed himself. So they straight up just say that like he wasn't trying to get to them necessarily; he intentionally killed himself by bashing his head against plexiglass.
Yeah. And
Um,
eventually so around this time, yeah, Portman tries to send a broadcast. He says he so he tells Destroyer, he's like, I gotta go take a shit. And he's like, would you? And Destroyer's like, really now? And he's like, what? You'd rather I do it here? And then there's that pervy smile again because we, I it had been like 30 seconds since we've seen it. So
exactly.
he's basically using that as he's trying to send a signal because he wants reinforcements, and Sarge doesn't
Yeah,
want to send more. He's like, no, we're the reinforcements. And
yeah. Which I thought was such a stupid line. was such a bad line. It like even The Rock saying it couldn't have made that cool.
God, yeah, this is when,
We don't get a cavalry. We are the cavalry. It's like, shut up. That's so bad.
as the movie goes on, we'll get there, but The Rock's acting is like, there's a couple scenes he's trying so hard to act sinister, but it just comes off like it honestly looks like he's about to start laughing.
Yeah, it's very goofy.
And so Destroyer, this is when Destroyer fights the monster and Destroyer dies, and then Portman dies, and then Duke is really torn up about Destroyer. And
Yeah.
they
Um.
this is when though they all go back, and Sarge is asking Sam, he's like, "What the fuck is going on here? Why what are you like?" And this is when it wasn't that he was yelling at Sam. I was just more surprised that like, and I got Sarge is in charge. I was just more surprised like
Sarge is in charge. Coming this fall to ABC. I had to make the joke. All right, so yeah, when Portman dies, this is also the first time we get to see the BFG 9000 in use, and he fires his glorious gun, and he misses. He misses the thing that's a guaranteed kill.
it's like he
How
takes
do you
after the
like?
people in Godzilla.
Oh God. Yeah. No. I hate the fact that in this movie, every time they fire the BFG, they miss. They just shoot the wall or like the ceiling or whatever, and they miss the target. The BFG 9000 in the game, pretty much you just fire in any direction, and it kind of just automatically like sparks out and hits whatever you're aiming at in that general area, and either instantly kills or does significant damage to whatever you're pointing it at. Which I thought was really dumb that zero kills were made in this movie with the BFG.
Um, I mean, that I honestly like that was the least of this movie's worries. I don't think I was even really noticing that. I mean, I believe you, but yeah, they all did make
It,
terrible shots. This whole
yeah,
movie.
this movie was a terrible shot.
But Sarge is like screaming at
Got him.
Sam, like, "What's going on? Like, why? Well, you're And I don't know. I think it just bothered me that it was kind of like what I because up until this point, I'm like, it just seemed like this was happening, and she worked there and was pretty much the only person left that could like assist them. And
Yeah,
it just kind of, I'm like, if anything, I thought like it would have made more sense. Maybe it'll have a little more like dialogue and character development between them if Reaper was the one that was screaming at her, and if Sarge was like, "Hey, like, calm down." Like, I don't know. It just seemed very like, "Damn, like, calm down, Sarge."
yeah.
And
But I felt like Sarge was embodying the audience in that moment by asking her what the fuck is going on. Because when I first saw this, I had no idea what was going on because the movie was moving so fast that I already forgot who was still left alive and where they were. I couldn't tell if they were still on the Mars base or on the base on Earth because they look
yes,
exactly
I
the
was
same.
so mixed up. I'm like, oh, so that was on Earth. That was like the final fight on Earth.
The final fight is on Earth,
They look
and then
exactly
they
the
transport.
same.
Yeah, yeah, no, they look exactly the same. There's no distinction between the two.
I think they do look a little different, but it wasn't that. It was like the same type of facility and the same design.
Yeah, it was just a different room layout in like the main lobby where like everyone died. Like that's the only difference was just like the main central hub transport room. And even then those looked exactly the same.
So it's around this time they finally Sam shows them that I guess she was brought in to help like decode or translate.
Yeah, that she's basically there to like retrieve like the top secret like information like the research data, and the soldiers are like under strict orders like you have to save this, and they all watch it, and they soon now realize that these monsters are people, and it's just Dr. Carmack and his team were testing on like death row inmates what this like 24th chromosome would do, and it turned them into monsters, and that's how it got out. And John immediately is like, we need to destroy this. And Sarge takes them from him and is like, no, this is UAC property. We work for UAC. We have to save the data. And they kind of have like, they butt heads.
I was confused. I was like, why does he want to destroy this? Like, the data?
Because he doesn't want the UAC to potentially use this information to like have it happen again. And also he has like major gripes against them because like this is the company that let my parents die, even though they really, it's like that seemed like a natural accident, even though it's never really mentioned that much. Like it seemed like his motivation was like fueled by like, no, fuck the UAC, they let my parents die.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So this is when Sarge starts kind of acting kind of weird. He's like, no, um, we're not gonna destroy it.
It's like, yeah, we're gonna protect this evil organization and we're gonna kill all the people here. And he orders everyone back to Earth to kill everyone, anything that moves. And when they get back to Earth, literally almost everyone there is already dead.
Or just before this,
yeah,
so Pinky is gone, and then this is, and Sam realizes that the monster is choosing who to infect, because some of them are like, some of them are just being like, they're dead. They look horrible, but they're dead. And some of them are actually being infected and coming back. And so, and they're like, oh my God, we got to go back. We got to go to Earth because Sarge is going to kill all those people. And they tell him, they get the message to him, and Sarge is like, okay, got it. And then some guy just sits up.
Yeah,
going,
he just kills everyone immediately.
And he just kills them. And he just becomes very trigger happy. And it just seemed like he just completely, I know he didn't really have that much of a personality, but he seemed a lot more level-headed when we first met him, and then he just like completely flips. And this is starting to when he's just becoming a huge asshole, and he's trying to sound so intimidating, and it just comes off so stupid. And this when
yeah, I'm honestly trying to like think of a time where like The Rock is in a movie where he is intimidating, because for the most part he's kind of a teddy bear. Like he's like all hugs and smiles, and like most of his movies, even ones where he's like kicking ass. Like even in like the Fast and Furious movies, like it's like family. Like him and Vin Diesel are like best of buds, even though they hate each other in real life.
Or like he, sorry, spoiler, becomes the bad guy in Get Smart, but he's entertaining in that movie. Like he's not he's not trying so hard to be intimidating.
Yeah.
He's just like, and
yeah.
So
yeah.
The kid finds a room full of uninfected people, and he tells them, and Sarge is like, we got to go kill them. And he's like, what? No, they're not infected. And then he's like,
shoots the kid for breaking orders.
That's an order. And he's like, no. And then he just kills him. And yeah, and this is when they're like, it was his first day.
It's like, what do you mean this was his first mission? How did he get leave if this was his first mission? You don't go from the academy to vacation to work. That makes no sense. But yeah, immediately after they kill the kid, Duke or Reaper and Sarge like stare off and like look like they're about to shoot each other, and then they turn and see Pinky like climbing out of a bunch of bodies, like, oh hey guys, and then a monster literally takes him by the head and drags him like down the hallway, and they get ambushed by a bunch of zombies, and then Duke gets pulled down through a grate, and Sarge gets pulled through a nanowall, and this is probably like one of my favorite lines in the movie of "I'm not supposed to die" as he gets dragged away. It's like The Rock realizes, like, wait, I have top billing. I'm not supposed to die. I'm the main character.
Yeah, I'm the main character. So, and around this time, John has been shot and he's dying, and Sam gives him the stuff that she's like,
the chromosome.
The chromosome. He's like no, and he's like, because I'll turn bad, and she's like, no, you're my brother, and it's like, well, that's just a fact. That's not really gonna determine anything. But
it's like you're a good person.
He then wakes up and it all works. Except
Yeah,
then it's so random. It then
this
turns
is
into like hardcore Henry, or is it
this is
Henry or
yeah this is
Harry?
and hardcore Henry, and yeah, this is by far the best 5 minutes this entire movie has to offer. It jumps from a full first person view of Carl Urban running down these halls, gunning down like all these zombies, the Hell Knights, and finally, we get to see Pinky in all of his glory, still in a wheelchair. He turns into the Pinky from the game, which has like the same character model as the Pinkies, or like a very similar character model to the Pinkies in Doom 3, which are basically just these like hulking monstrosities that just run on like either all fours or like really like hunch to the ground and just charge at you and try to gore you to death. Um,
But I
which
was laughing because every time another monster showed up, one like they all one had an axe, the other had a chainsaw. It was just like they each were given like ridiculous weapons
yeah,
to attack with. But then no, Reaper kills them all, and then finds Sam, and then oh, Sarge is still alive,
and he's infected.
and he's infected. They have this whole fight scene, and then he's like starting to turn, and then eventually, John sends him through the like transportation thing back up to Mars, where he sends a bomb and blows up the whole thing, and the movie's done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
great,
Yep. Yeah.
like,
And
fine.
then just 14 short years later, we get Doom Annihilation, which still has a mystery budget of $0 because I cannot find any budget for this movie. And it's pissing me off at this point.
It made, and I was
It made
no,
yeah.
no sense. Was it trying to be like a sequel, or was it just like another movie in this universe, or was it just completely irrelevant?
It really had no major connection to the first Doom movie with in 2005. This one was just kind of like its own standalone. This is like what a video game movie should be, is what they were trying to be. It was trying to follow the main formula of the game of they go to like Space Marines go to Mars, scientists open up a portal to hell, they have to deal with it. They're just trying to follow the storyline of the original games, whereas Doom was trying to follow a storyline that was more similar to Doom 3, even though it had almost nothing to do with Doom because it had no mention of hell whatsoever, other than Carl Urban saying, "Go to hell to Sarge." Like that that's literally the only hell connection that they have in the entire first movie. Whereas this one, yeah, no, it's explicitly hell. They go to it. You see hell in like the end of this movie. Um,
That was supposed
but
to be hell. I thought it was like it looked like a different planet. It looked kind of like the
yeah,
ice planet that they go to in Thor.
just minus the ice.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this movie just, I mean, Doom
Oh,
was
this movie's shit.
Doom was
This
really
movie's shit.
bad, but it was like it was
Entertaining.
somewhat entertaining. I but this movie, it was just so much. And okay, I don't know how this is possible. This has a higher score like from critics, and I don't understand why. It has a
Yeah,
60%. I don't know what critics, but this movie is
yeah,
garbage. It's terrible. It makes no sense. I was so confused on what would the situation was and what they were all
yeah,
doing, and like
yeah. Because on IMDb, it IMDb does contradict that, because on IMDb, Doom 2005 has a 5.2 stars out of 10, and Doom Annihilation has 3.6. So it's kind of up in the air on which one's better, because everyone's kind of half and half on these ones. But in my opinion, Doom Annihilation is by far the worst. It is. This is a steaming pile of shit.
it was, yeah, it first of all, it was shot like a bad movie. It didn't, something, I don't know how to explain it. It just,
Yeah,
maybe it just didn't, it looked kind of flat. It looked
yeah.
bright. It just didn't, it was really
It looked very low budget without like any of like a low budget charm like Velocipaster had. Like they were trying, like they knew they had a low budget with that, so they kind of were going campy with this. This one, it had that low budget feel and look to it, but it was being very serious with the source material, like to the point where it's like, okay, they're just making everything seem kind of cringy. and the way that they just forced Easter egg after Easter egg after reference into this movie from like the games and other id Software games, it just seemed very forced and not natural in any way. Because at a couple points in the game, like a couple of the soldiers are like, "I'm your ultimate nightmare, motherfucker," and they say that twice. They say the same reference twice throughout this movie. It's like, you don't need to do that. We heard you the first time, and it was okay the first time. Second time is just, you guys are trying too hard.
So, yeah, this it just ugh, God, I couldn't wait for it to end. It was so I honestly I didn't even really want I like wanted to finish, but I didn't want to finish.
Yeah,
It didn't get interesting until the last like I said this before, like the last like 7 minutes of the movie. It was really
yeah.
boring up until
All
the
right.
last couple of minutes.
Let's just jump into this one. This one follows like a very similar story to the first Doom, so this one will actually be really easy to recap.
But like so yeah, it's I guess for our main character is not Doctor Lieutenant Joan Dark.
Yeah, because Joan of Arc,
That was what.
yeah.
Oh God. That okay. That makes more sense. I was just like, that makes. I feel stupid now. It was just like dark. What a like. It was. I thought they were just trying to so hard to give her like a cool badass dark name, and it just
No, they were trying to go for like us like no, they were trying to go for like a really like badass kind of Sigourney Weaver and Aliens kind of vibe with this character of Joan Dark. Um, and honestly, the more I say it, I keep accidentally almost switching to Joan of Arc. Uh, even though it's harder to say Joan of Arc than it is Joan Dark, but I keep almost wanting to switch. Um, but yeah, no, she has like this like character trait in the movie where, or like several scenes in the movie where she keeps getting flashbacks to her mom dying and giving her her like cross, giving her like a cross like or like a necklace, and it's like, oh, you need to like fight the demons within before you can fight the demons outside. Like, it's like very cryptic and also weirdly specific last words to give to your like child. um
it was
but
like the
yeah,
same beginning, just like yeah. It was this just it was the same beginning as like Guardians.
yeah, yeah. No, it's the exact same movie as Aliens. This is the exact same movie as Aliens. It's just a bunch of space marines like hamming it up for the screen, giving each other like bits of like dialogue and having like a bit of chemistry between all of them. Like, it's like, oh, like, ha, you're a pussy because you're not as strong as me, and I'm a girl. Haha, that makes you the dumb ones. Like, it's like they're doing like this like really like cliched and stereotypical banter of like, oh, hi, I'm the funny one, I'm the smart ass, I'm the guy who like reads a lot, I'm the nerdy one. It's just
Which
them
one was the
slowly.
funny one, and which one was the smartass? Because none of them were entertaining.
Yeah, yeah, no, they were all trying to do something and it wasn't good.
Was Bennett the guy with the glasses that wasn't a marine, the scientist guy? Was he the
Yeah,
nerdy one?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
kind of liked him. He
doctor,
was the only one
yeah.
that all of them like so right in the beginning Joan wakes up, they're in this like hibernation thing for a couple of months, I guess. And
Aliens.
and I guess so there's a scene where the her she's her entire squadron or whatever, they're all sitting around like eating breakfast and was it what so Carly it was Carly and then what was the other girl's name? Do you remember?
Honestly, I do not give a shit about any of the characters. They were all one dimensional. I could not tell who was who in this movie.
She was acting her ass off and it was just like stop. Like she was trying so
Yeah.
hard and she's like, "Yeah, I think they do." Like anyway, so Joan comes in and everyone's mad at her, I guess, because she made a call. She made a call that got them all punished. And so none of them are talking to her. Bennett's the only one, and I guess she and Bennett have a history. She's like, "We date I mean, I remember we dated for like 6 weeks, right?" And he's like 4 months. It's like, "Okay, those are
Yeah.
different times." Like
Well, it's a joke. And honestly, it's not a good one, but it's honestly the best joke in this movie, in my opinion.
it just made her sound I'm tough and I'm cool and I don't I'm not girly, and I don't. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
they're trying very hard to like make her like a really like overly confident, not overly confident, but like they're trying to like overcompensate to like make her seem like as badass as possible without any like major character descriptions or like personality other than it's like I'm a soldier. My character, my mother died. She was religious. I'm religious. I wear a cross. I dated a nerd. That's it. That's her character. That's all the character development she is given in this entire movie.
So, or before all of this, so another lab, another doctor, they're trying to some
Open up
guy
a
go
portal.
portal, he steps through it and he's like, I'm honored to be the subject. It's like, okay. He goes through
Okay,
it.
that's a little culty. Did he have some Kool Aid before this scene? Because it seems like it.
Oh
Um.
yeah. Um
Oh God. He goes through the portal and the Kool Aid Man comes out. That would have
that
made
would have
this
been
movie infinitely more watchable.
so he comes out and they're all like, it worked. We did it. Everyone's hugging. And the camera has not shown us the person other than the fact that we see he's made it, but we haven't really seen him. And then it cuts and they're all freaking out and he looks like kind of starting to look like one of the monsters that we've already kind
Yeah,
of seen.
yeah. Like he is like super pale now, and he's like like his nails are like black, like they're almost like dripping like ink, like but like thick like blood ink, and he's like got like mascara under his eyes. I get like it's he basically looks like he just like got blasted in the face with like a bunch of like black powder. Like he just looks like he's going like he's turning into the Crow almost. Like he's just like super pale, but also like a bunch of black spots everywhere.
But like what I thought was weird was so they're all hugging and excited and then they take a look at him and I'm like, so what was he did he look like a monster when he stepped through? Did he look like a normal person? Why didn't we see him look like a normal person? It just was I don't know, and it was dumb.
Because there wasn't any money in the budget to show the transition, probably.
Um so so anyway, back to so Joan and her whole thing, they have a mission, I guess.
Yeah, they're basically they're pissed because they're now being stationed on Phobos. So yay, they got the location right, the moon of Mars, at the UAC facility where this test of the mystery hell portal just took place. And as they arrive, they can't get anyone on comms, so they more or less break in through like the emergency exit, and it's like, hey, where the hell is everyone? And it's like, okay, let's try to reestablish power because when they get there, there's like everything's on emergency power. So they're all kind of suiting up through like their like random badass montage, and this is where we get a couple of the forced references of "I'm your ultimate nightmare, motherfucker," and we get to see one of my favorite weapons in the Doom series, the super shotgun that the Sarge has, because of course you need to have a sergeant or captain, whoever like the main Space Marine is in charge. Um, yeah, they go through the facility and it's like, okay, where is everyone? They can't find anyone. And then they find the headless body of a security guard. And what's his name? It's a reference. He's William Blaskovich. He's the main character from Wolfenstein. And then they find like a bunch of blood written, or a bunch of writings in blood. And it's like, oh, I'm the nerdy one. I can read that because, of course, you can.
Um yes, so yeah, so they eventually yeah, it kind of starts off the same. They go into basically they I don't know. There's like it's supposed to be like an attack. All the like monsters start like and some of them are monsters like infected, and some of them are. One of them keeps joking the whole time, like it's aliens, and they're all like, Psh. Like, and then
Yeah.
it's aliens. So I guess.
No, it's like, yeah, technically it technically would be an alien to them because they have no idea what this is until they like randomly come across like a preacher who used to be a soldier there who is like helping like a couple of the survivors there, and it's like, oh, these are demons from hell. It's like, all right, I guess they're demons because no one argued with this man at all on this very drastic statement, because they have no reason to believe that these are demons or anything. For all they know, they could be an alien. The imp that keeps showing around. Which this is one thing I do like about both movies, is that they mostly did use practical effects for the creature design. I mean, they don't necessarily look that great. I mean, they do in the first one because they had Stan Winston do the creature effects for those ones. This one looks kind of cheap, but it still looks impressive nonetheless, especially compared to the CGI later on in the movie.
Yeah, it's so they basically, yeah, they're under attack, and the attack I feel like went on for a very long time, and about two or three of them die, and I mean, at this point, I didn't really care because
I didn't even I didn't even knew their names at any point in this movie. Is like, did did we know them?
I was like, oh, that girl died. Oh, I guess I was mixing up the captain, and then there was that religious guy. I was, I don't even know. They look the same to me. So I was getting so mixed up. And then this is like, all of this happens, and there's like maybe 40 minutes left of the movie. This movie is an hour and a half, or hour and
Yeah,
36 minutes.
it feels like nothing happens for so long in this movie, other than them just. It just feels like this movie is just one constant attack of just a couple zombies charge them, and somehow they get killed because of this. Um, Even though it's like, two zombies, I have a gun, they have a pipe wrench, I think I can take them. No, I'm dead. That's the whole movie, and this happens like 5 or 6 times throughout this movie.
We then there's the doctor from the beginning, and yeah, he, I guess, like, I think before all this he went into the, like, portal.
Yeah, I think it's implied that yeah, he did like go into the portal because he's like, later on he shows like he's like super infected, like he has like the same kind of, he looks like the same as the test subject guy from like the beginning of the movie, of just like black, like super like black sooty like marks under his eyes, like got like black rotting teeth, like he bit into a like a ballpoint pen. Like he's just like drooling ink.
Yeah, and they they're all like freaking out, like, what are we gonna do? And then they find, so the monsters are now like on the ship, and the guy who's like control, so there's Daisy, who's kind of like their version of Jarvis, I guess.
Yeah.
It's in fact even affected her, and there's like a whole other fight, and one of the monsters like sucks something out of.
Yeah, it's basically like playing like a Dementor like kind of move in Harry Potter.
There was no reason for it. The Dementors suck out. They suck out like the happiness, and or in extreme cases can suck out your soul. But this, I'm like, what's he doing? What's the point? And it never really comes back. It kind of sort of comes back later, but I feel like it still wasn't explained at all. So I was like, whatever. And then the religious guy shows up and kills the monster, or
One of
tries to
the
kill the
imps.
monster, saving Joan, and then she kills the monster, and then they realize, like, okay, so we're running low. They're like, we'll just. So the doctor wants them to open a portal because that can send them back to Earth, and she's like, Joan's like, no, we'll wait here. And then Bennett's like, oh, we can't because the power is gonna. We're at 1%, and we got like 30 minutes, and so
It's like, dude, pressing information. You got to tell that stuff first.
so they're and so Joan's like, okay, we'll open the portal, and Bennett's like, what? And she's like, I just said that to get him to like shut up. And it's like, okay. And then they open the portal. He then, so one of the nurses or other, I don't really know what she was. She was kind of,
I think yeah, she was like a random tag along research assistant that was kind of just following. the doctor around since like the beginning of the movie, and she really served no purpose other than the fact that, oh, she's just gonna add to the body count.
And then she yeah, basically the doctor, she had said to the doctor, like, I saw you like went through the portal, and he then stabs her so she won't tell anyone. Was it tell anyone that he went through the portal? I just was like, I don't know, he just stabs her. There are then monsters then come out of the portal that they just opened. The doctor leaves, and then the monster kills Carly and the other guy.
Yeah, and I think the only people left alive at this point are Joan and Bennett.
Really quick, Carly, so she's part of the squad, and right in the beginning, so they're all just sitting around talking. They got out of hibernation, and she's speaking, was it French? She was speaking a different language,
Oh
and then
yeah, she's speaking French.
someone's like, is anyone going to tell Carly that her hair's, that this hibernation turned her hair blue? And then in the next scene, she's speaking English. And I was like, wait, so she could understand them that her hair was blue. Like she heard, like I was just so confused. And then it never came back. So I just moved forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they wrote that joke out of order and they didn't have time to fix it.
So then they decide, yeah, so Carly dies. The uh, English Australian guy dies, and it's just Joan and Bennett. They then find he's on, according to the nurse that's dying, he's on the fourth floor. There is no fourth floor, and they find
Sacre
him.
bleu.
Yeah, yeah. And then they on their way to get him to go get the doctor. Uh, Bennett's attacked, and then Joan makes it up there, and then Bennett's been infected, and she has to kill him. And then the
Yeah,
doctor, she kills the doctor. It then shows that he's like infected.
already activated the portal or something.
He's
Yeah.
infected, and then he
Oh, we forgot at this point. She has the BFG 9000, and she fires it at an imp, and she makes the shot. She hits it. We actually see the BFG 9000 in use. Yes.
um, but then she's thrown. This is the last like 10 minutes of the movie. She's thrown into the portal. She wakes up. I thought it was another planet, or she's like drowning, like she's swimming. She climbs out of the water, and then she's still got the gun with her. And then all of these like creatures start coming out, and then they're gonna kill her, and they're gonna wipe out mankind. And then she has that flashback of her mom giving her her cross necklace, saying, uh, even in your darkest moment, I'll be with you. And then she fights her way out, and then she kills the leader.
Yeah, like yeah, like no problem whatsoever. She kills the leader in like one shot. It's like okay, cool. All right, that's a really anticlimactic fight in hell.
She then throws the, like, she has some bombs or grenades on her, throws them, leaves back through, lands on Earth at the other base, and she's like, I need a drink. And they're like, we'll get you some water. And she's like, no, I want vodka. And then she's like, we got to shut this down. And we need, like, I need to talk to your military, whoever has the head. And the guy's like, that's me. And she's like, no, military. And he's like, this isn't a military operation. She's like, it's about to be. And so they're trying to sedate her. And then I guess monsters are about to come through. And then the movie's done.
Yeah, yeah, they make it end on a very open ended, and they are kind of implying it later on that they want to do a sequel. Like this, there have been talks later on about a possible sequel because in December of 2018, months before its release, Gil Giglio, the director, I'm sorry if I'm horribly butchering your name, Tony Giglio. I know you're listening because you're a fan. Responded to a user on Twitter who asked if the Barons of Hell would make an appearance in the film, and he stated that they might be for the film's potential sequel. I'm taking this straight off of the internet right now, so it has to be true. Um, but yeah, it's heavily implied that they may do a sequel, especially since they um, left the ending of the movie so open ended, kind of similar to how the first Doom game ends, where your reward is you get trapped in hell. Like that's how that's how it ends. You get trapped in hell. Um, But yeah, no, this movie ends, and it did not end fast enough. This movie sucks. I
It was so boring. I was so glad it was an hour and a half because it like I was just so done. It was not good. It was boring. I didn't care. I will say the actress that's Joan, she looked familiar to me, and then I was looking up and she actually I thought she was someone else. She is, if anyone has ever watched Once Upon a Time, she on like the show, not the movie, not once I almost said Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The show Once Upon a Time, she was Merida in season 5 because this is when they were just like, hey, let's shove every Disney character down everybody's throats at this point. So it
yep,
was really weird. I was like, oh yeah, I totally recognize her face. So but anyway, so there's
yeah,
that.
no, this movie doesn't do anything new with the source material or uh anything really with like the movie as a whole. I can't even really talk right now.
It's not even
They
like it's bad, like it's a funny movie to watch with people.
Yeah,
Like it's just it was just so boring. Like I don't even know what I would how I would I'd make a ton of changes and I don't even know what changes I would make because like it wasn't even like, oh, that's a mistake, it was bad. It was just super it was bad, but it was also just super boring.
yeah, no, this definitely fit to like video game movies back several steps. Like like not that long ago, we got like Detective Pikachu, which literally broke the curse of bad video game movies.
It
I was
did?
literally like, yeah, no, that officially broke the curse of bad video game movies. It had such an overwhelming positive reception from both fans and critics, and it like made their money back and then some. So it officially broke that record. And then this movie took several giant leaps backwards back to like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and has hence taken the title of worst video game movie with the title Annihilation.
God. Uh it's just yeah, this movie I don't know. I can't say that. It was bad. It was terrible. Don't watch it.
I can't.
Or actually, you know what? Just go to the last maybe 10 minutes of the movie. That's just all you really
Yeah,
need to watch. That's the only thing about it that's interesting. Everything else about it is boring. It's not shot well, or it's shot just very flat and basic. Like it's just everything about it is very blah. The first
yeah,
Doom, which is considered to be worse, but I felt like it was a lot more interesting
it
and
it was
fun,
coherent.
and they're putting pieces together even though it wasn't at
Yeah,
all related to the game. It was still putting pieces together, so like it was, entertaining, like we're figuring out stuff.
yeah, no, yeah, it was a story from beginning to end that you could very easily follow. Whereas Doom Annihilation, for newcomers to the series or fans of like the originals, it just felt like a very forced way to try to make money off of like the new Doom hype. Like because this came out between uh the Doom remake that Bethesda did in 2016, which is fantastic, and Doom Eternal, which is going to be coming out in about a week or so by the time this releases. Um, it's it's just a cash grab that the studio thought that they could make some serious money off of it, even though it seems like they didn't put very much money into this, um, which I won't know because I can't find any information on how much money this movie cost to make. Only the DVD sales, which are surprisingly lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I can say about this. It's really bad. Don't watch it. I
Yeah.
feel like we've summed that up.
Yeah,
um
but Doom 2005, how would you rate that one?
um like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it maybe like with I want to say maybe like a 4 or 5. Like it's really bad, but it's not
Yeah,
boring as I mean there are some scenes that are kind of boring, but it's not anywhere near as boring as this. This one I would give like, I don't know, a 1. -2. Like it's just really bad. The
Yeah,
Doom 2005 is a little more fun than this one. This one just has
yeah,
straight to DVD written all over it.
yeah. No, if you manage to find a copy of Doom Annihilation in your home, and if you're a fan of the series like I am, then you need to do one thing and one thing only: rip and tear until it is done.
Or annihilate it. It's or unless you love it, then I don't know, try to make us understand what we're missing. Um or
Yeah,
don't. It's yeah, any I don't know, I have nothing else to say about about any of these movies.
yeah. This movie sucked my soul out. I'm I'm tapping out. I need to watch a good movie like Starship Troopers.
Oh god. Um uh yeah, we'll get there. Um yeah, so
Yes, we will.
as as we said before, as we've been saying, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple and Spotify. Please keep listening. Please rate us. That would be really nice. And yeah, like we said before, recommend movies. I really just want to see what people say. Honestly, I mean, we'll do them.
Yeah,
I just really want to see what movies people say. Um,
yeah. Like if it's like a personal favorite of yours or a new or upcoming movie, like yeah, just let us know what you guys want us to watch, and we'll give you our honest opinions about it.
Great. Anything else to add? Anything else to say?
Yeah, just make sure that you guys like tell us what you guys want us to hear. We want to make sure that this thing that how we're doing it is in a way that you guys will enjoy it and keep listening, because we're not really doing this for ourselves. We're also doing this for like all you guys listening, and we hope that you guys enjoy it. And if we're doing a good job, let us know. If not, tell us why.
Yeah. You suck, and here's all the reasons why.
Thank you, internet troll. I appreciate that feedback.
If that happens, we got to give like one of those like uplifting like thanks for your feedback and like exclamate
Yeah.
like an exclamation point like we're super quirky.
Just read it with like nothing but like inspirational, like whimsical music. It's like you suck. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, God, yes. um, all right. I'm Samantha
uh,
Tomlinson.
and I'm Kevin Tracy. You've been listening to Movie Reel. Keep it real, folks.